Have you ever met a person who treats other children better than their own? What
What?
is that about? I truly believe that when people are blessed with children, they are a gift from God. That's what it is. There are plenty of people who are absolutely healthy, both mom and dad are healthy, and they cannot have children. And then there are other people you're like, why were they even allowed to have children? Especially when you hear something terrible that happened on the news. Either way, when you have a child, it is definitely a blessing and it is definitely a gift. And people, ideally, families will come together. You have a child, and we're going to be a family and we're going to raise our child together. But life situations and all the permissible types of relationships today really allows for a lot of I don't know, arrangements to be made. But whatever that may be, a child and caring for a child is very important. But you will find that there are some parents who they are conditional. They are conditional. As long as they are in the house, as long as they're together, they're going to do what's right for the children. But if they're not together, they're not going to do what's right for the children. So they don't take care of their own children, they abandon their own children, and then they're across town or you see them online somewhere having a great time with someone else's children. This can be a mother or a father because oftentimes we are quick to just think of fathers walking away from their families, which they do, but they're actually women who walk away from their families too. They leave the child with a father, they abandon the father, they want to live their life, they realize I'm not ready, motherhood is not for me, and they leave and they just go. And then the father is left raising the child alone. Okay. And so next thing you know, she's not at home. She's not there with her children, but she's moved on. And this man has children. Whoever she meets, he has children. And she is there posted with them, taking pictures. They're doing the family photos together. Great time with my children. These are happening. And you may also see men doing this as well. They have their own children and they left and they're not taking care of them in any way, and then they're with somebody else taking pics, thumbs up, they're at the game, they're being the best dad ever, dad of the year, mom of the year, but they have their own. What is that about? Well, there are people who they can literally shut down their hearts. They literally can shut down and just move on to something else. They can compartmentalize. Don't take it personally if you look and you see your dad or your mom have abandoned you, they're not with you, and then they just start fresh somewhere else with someone else's child. It's not even their own child, or they have another child and it's like you don't exist. But in this case, we're just talking about how they're just going in there with someone else's child and they're being involved and they're cooking and baking and showing up and being there. That's because that's where they want to be right now. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do, this is a convenient space for me and I'm happy now, so I'm going to show my best self now. But once they're upset and they're mad, they'll do the same thing to that family. They'll just shut down, leave, and they're not going to care about those children. And that is why I always tell people be so, so careful. Be so careful. I know this is off topic. Be very careful who you bring around your children because whether they're the biological parent or not, but let's say they're not the biological parent and you have them around your children, and while you're together, they're going to be nice and sweet. But when they're not with you and it's all over, they become completely indifferent to your children. That is going to devastate them. So just if he's not your husband, she's not your wife, don't bring these people around your children. And you have to vet them for a long time and do a background check on them. Do a background check on them. It's that serious. Yes, you could be bringing in the bride of Chucky, or Michael Myers into your house. So they don't need to know. They don't need to know you did it. That's what a background check is. They don't need to know. Just do the background check on this person that's trying to come around your family or you're getting to know, and you'll just see what they have going on. You be surprised. You may be pleasantly surprised, but you may also be horrified as well as surprised. And either way, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to tell them what you know. You just slowly back away. Okay. Now, getting back to parents who do this, um, a lot of times they're just, it could be out of revenge. They think they're hurting you, the parent, by doing that. Okay. So if they have a conflict with you and you don't agree on something, then they're like, well, I'm not going to take care of the children. There are parents and people who feel that as long as we get along, I'm going to take care of my children. If we're not getting along, then I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And it is my opinion that they don't love the child. They don't. Because if you love your child, you can think differently. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying that is a fact, but I don't see how it could be anything but. It's conditional. The love is conditional. A parent is truly a parent who loves their child. They're going to be there. They're going to take care of the child, whether they're together or not. They're going to do what they need to do. They want to be a part of their lives. They want to make sure that they are okay. And I will say this that I will say this. Mothers are normally the primary custodians. We see that a lot in the US. You're normally the primary custodian. So with that, you have to make sure you're not being vindictive. I have to address this because I do have another video when you check it out. I do believe it's over here. Where it talks about the games women will play with the baby. Keep playing games, and when that man walks out on you and shuts you out, then you're shocked. So what I'm talking about is, if the woman is playing games with the father, he genuinely wants to be in the child's life and he's doing everything that he can should do. And he's going to the courts and he's trying to get the help. But the mother can be very manipulative and crying and weepy wally doing all these things. It doesn't work. She's still playing games. The father may at some point just completely give up and just walk away and has nothing to do with the child. And a lot of times they're going to do this when they get to the point, and I always say this, if you get to a point where you feel like these thoughts start coming into your mind to do things that you normally never think to do because she is doing so much damage to you and your emotions with the child, then yes, you can walk away. Okay. And you'll see that on a video that I have done. I'm like, do not neglect to take care of your child as far as giving support for the child, but sometimes that man has to completely disconnect because the woman is being so vicious and vindictive and malicious. He's to the point he's ready to just kill her. All right, and he's thinking all sorts of things because she knows the source of his pain, which is a child. In these cases, yes, you have to make choices that you need to make to preserve yourself. That man may say, hopefully my child will want to know me later on in life. For now, this is what I'll do in terms of support, but I have zero contact with her. Sometimes they do that. These are the rare cases or exceptions, but a lot of times people, they just, wait, let me stick to the topic for a second. Mothers, custodial parents, you have to make sure that you're not being vindictive. Because if you're being vindictive to that parent, you're being malicious. And I'm not talking about, hey, this parent is doing things that's not correct, so you have to make certain decisions. I understand that. But just because you just feel like being a certain way, they're not doing things exactly the way you want to do it, you're going to use a child, then this is where they may distance themselves, and then you see them with another family. That's your loss. Okay. But this video, we're just talking about people who they're just reckless, they're irresponsible, parents that just walk off, just leave their family. Sometimes, if you check their history, you'll see that there's some history of that. There's a pattern of this behavior somewhere in their generation, in their family. They think this is normal. And a lot of times, people like this, they are looking for something. There's a brokenness in them, and they like families. You have men um, who love families. They want to be a part of that, but it's conditional. So they look for single women. There's some men who just prefer that. There's some women who may prefer that as well. Just if we want to keep this fair across the board, they look for individuals because a lot of times they think single parents, single fathers, single mothers with children are more vulnerable, more needy, and in some cases they are, but not all the time. And they will go get into these families and they like the idea of being a part of something because maybe they didn't have a family, maybe they didn't have a family setting, maybe they have this idea of what they think family is, but they think it should always be happy, and if it's not happy, then I'm going to leave you guys, I'm going to discard you guys, and then I'm going to find another family to be happy with, and then if I'm not happy there, I'm going to chuck them, and then I'm going to find another family to be happy with. So if you really pay attention to it, it's not hard to see who the problem is. And anyone who's doing that, get counsel, get help, because there is a brokenness. A lot of times it's a broken family. A lot of times there's something that was said to them and it's stuck with them and they're still carrying that. And so they're just trying out families after family after family, and then they're ignoring their biological children and moving on to the next person. And ironically, what's going to happen is men or women that's jumping into other people's family, those children belong to someone else. They have a mom, they have a dad, they belong to someone. And these things will become more obvious when they get older. There are going to be things and events that's going to come up where the child may have to remind that man or woman that you're not my mom or my dad. There may be something that comes up where the parent that has been absent, the father or mother, that child wants to find their mom or dad, or the mom and dad shows up, and the child, because they are flesh and blood, is going to want to have that parent there. I want to have my mom, my biological mother or father, at my wedding, walking me down the aisle at my childbirth. And all of a sudden, that parent that abandoned their biological children find themselves on the outside. Now, who are they going to come looking for? Suddenly they're blindly searching, going on YouTube, or I'm sorry, going on Facebook, trying to look up their children, and now they're coming around. Ironically, as they get older and they age, they're going to be looking for their children, the ones that they abandoned. hmm They may even hear about their children. They see their child on television, they see their child being successful. They want to show up like dude from the Five Heartbeats in that little jacket. I'm here. I still know the moves. I still know the moves. Eddie Kane. Like you've been gone all these years and now you come up like Eddie or Edna Kane. I'm here. Right? They want to share the lights. They want to share the cameras. They want to, yes, I'm their mom. I'm their dad. Or they're getting old. So, yeah, as they get old and vulnerable, they want to be around their children, the ones that they abandoned years ago when they were in their prime and they're walking around and happy, and they're not thinking that maybe eventually, somewhere down the line, life happens. An aneurysm, a stroke, anything can change your life. An accident. you're in a wheelchair. And who are you looking for? Your children. These people are looking for their children. So it's easy for them to drop their children and start somewhere else because that's really mentally how they are. They compartmentalize. That means they have like these little shells in their hearts, these little sections. You know, when you go to Target or Walmart, you get those little I'm so sorry. You get those storage things, those 4 drawer storage things. We use them a lot for like arts and crafts. And, you know, in this drawer you have your pencils, this art, this section you have your paint brushes and all of that. And that's how they are. They just keep you in different sections. And then so when they're on the they're when they're dealing with the pencils, they're not thinking about the glue. And then with the glue, they're not thinking about the construction paper. They just completely forget and they can walk away, and that's just something inside of them. It has nothing to do with you. So if you're that child that you have a parent who abandoned you and left you and they just started fresh and started new, and you hear them trying to blame your mom or your dad for certain things, when you get older, you're going to be able to figure those things out. But you have to make sure that you do not continue that. A lot of times, what will happen is the child will become so angry at the parent and they are so hurt and they have so much resentment towards that parent for doing that, that hatred causes them to become that parent. They will do the same thing. Hate is like a poison. You cannot grow the way you should grow. You're going to have a mentality of thinking and it poisons your heart. So you are not going to be able to receive love or give love the way you're not going to be able to give it or receive it in a healthy way. You're going to do it the way that you know how, okay? Your patch and paint kind of love that you think is actual love because, well, it's better than where I came from. It's better than what they gave me, but it's still not where it should be. It's still not necessarily healthy. Remember, I always say that when you're in a household where there's toxicity, you're already living at a low standard. So just because you're doing better than them does not necessarily mean all the time that you are operating on all cylinders the way that you should. And that's why counseling, that's why uh, self improvement. I was those of you who I believe in the Lord, so I pray, I read my Bible, I apply things in my life and how I treat people. All of those things, I those are the things that helps us, I believe, to navigate through life. You know, people have their own religion, their own beliefs in what they do. I'm not going to knock what you believe. I know what I believe. You believe what you believe. But I'm saying the main thing right now, guys, is using the resources that you have to ensure that you do not follow the footsteps of the person who may have abandoned you. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself doing the same things. You just do it in a different way. I hope this makes sense. Thanks for listening and peace out.